here we are. This is Sex, Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more. I have here because as we're talking about the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system aspect is the fight or flight. The parasympathetic system is about rest and digest. However, it also has another aspect with the dorsal vagal, which is the shutdown, freeze, and fogginess, despondence. So that puts the question of these supplements, would you generally advise these, or would there be something different for somebody who needs more stimulation versus stimulation to come out of the vagal dorsal response, the shutdown, versus somebody who's in the sympathetic or might be more hypervigilant or tense in their body or like heightened? Yeah.
That's a wonderful question. And that's where, I'm passing this on certainly to a facilitator. I have some groups that are actually using my whole protocol. I'll send you the protocol.
Yeah, please.
Ceremonia is using it. I don't know if you know them out of Utah.
I do.
So they're using my protocol, which is great. But that's a great point, that there's most certainly bio-individuality. And again, like, where is your nervous system at coming in? Where is it coming out? I do think that, and this is where like integration plays a huge portion of this too, in terms of what is your degree of integration after you've learned your truth, your authenticity. Because if you go back to your regular life and you don't apply these new learnings, now you're really in a state of cognitive dissonance. You're kind of like living a lie. Like, now that you know the truth and it's not suppressed, now that can be a huge problem, and you can have that dissonance. But that's a great point on, what does someone need coming out of that situation? Sometimes you're right that they would need to be more stimulated. And some people might need to kind of be more relaxed to kind of stay in that ideal state for the next several weeks. And this is where microdosing, like, I think is a huge part. So I have this whole concept called echo dosing, where it's something I've trademarked and worked on, this idea that, like, basically, let's say my journey is I have MDMA or MDA as a heart opener. And then I have like a ceremonial cacao and penis envy for psilocybin. And then the next day I do Wachuma, which is also called San Pedro, as a way to kind of get grounded and kind of relaxed and be in this kind of bent time and space place where it's really good for my nervous system and kind of process everything. So I would take that whole thing and microdose that post journey, because just like when you hear that song list, that playlist, it kind of takes you back to that journey experience. But when you hear that specific song, when you had the epiphany, that will 10x that feeling, that experience. So I believe this is the same versus just microdosing whatever, whenever. I'm saying let's microdose our journey even better if it's prepared by the same facilitator that's serving you, and you're taking that post journey. Also, all the things that I'm saying to macro dose post journey, I can microdose during the journey.
Yeah.
This is like the idea of echoing and telling the body like what's coming, and to connect these dots on a much greater level. Just like if I have agua de Florida or sage or whatever during my journey, and then someone sprays it, I'm like, boom, I'm there. Now I hear that song, that specific song, boom, I'm there. Now I'm taking these supplements. Now I'm around these people on a Zoom that I was like with in my journey, and my facilitator's talking to me. I hear this voice and boom, I'm there. So like, this is going to extend that neuroplasticity.
Yeah. It's like the sensory receptor, or the senses, the five senses are getting stored in the amygdala, helping with retrieval, memory retrieval from that. Yeah, I
Exactly.
see that.
Exactly. Connected to that. So, and that brings up neuroplasticity. So I told you some things that help with that, but I have some ingredients that are just insane. So 7,8-dihydroxyflavone. This ingredient is amazing. It literally will work better than if you were to inject BDNF. There's nothing that can work on this level that we've seen in research to increase neuroplasticity. Some of the polyphenols are great. There's a host of them, and basically almost all the blue zones are high in polyphenols, things like quercetin, pterostilbene, resveratrol, EGCG, FISSN, apigenin. These are all like really great polyphenols. I definitely recommend eating well and potentially even taking the supplements. They actually also inhibit NADAs, which is also known as CD38, that breaks down NAD. So this is like that idea of kind of repleting by inhibiting an enzyme again.
Yeah.
So this can actually increase endogenous levels of NAD, which NAD is related to mitochondrial ATP and protecting DNA and all these things. So basically increasing your cellular energy and your ability to thrive. So that's great too. So polyphenols are amazing.
Yeah.
But also, so this neuroplasticity ingredient, 7,8-dihydroxyflavone, and we're not as sure on its metabolite, but maybe it could be even better. So I've been stacking the two. It's called 4-DMA, 7,8-dihydroxyflavone. So those two ingredients together that are amazing for neuroplasticity. And then, yeah, maybe add in polyphenols to your diet. And then things that do increase NAD on their own. So that's going to be things like niacin, NMN, NR, Niagen. Those are all going to increase the availability of NAD, and then polyphenols will decrease their breakdown. So that's going to increase your cellular energy, as well as things that are enhancing mitochondrial function, CoQ10, PQQ. Those are great as well.
Mm-hmm. And you dive into that in your book, Energy Formula, which I love. The mitochondria health is so important for much of this, and including trauma.
100%. I've said that I believe that mito is the next keto. Like really, like I think everything is attached to mitochondrial function, whether it's biological over chronological aging, or the likelihood of almost all disease is correlated to that mitochondrial dysfunction, and therefore ultimately metabolic dysfunction. Absolutely.
Yeah, mito is a new keto. All right, Shawn, we're making merchandise. I see hats, I see shirts, I see
perfect
on it. Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex, Love, Psychedelics.